Hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, because in some countries it's lunchtime and in other countries it's after lunch. Welcome to our first webinar in our coolest and greatest circular economy project, the Western Balkan Circular and Climate Innovation Beacons, in short, Circular Economy Beacons. I am Cristina Badulescu from Timiș Chamber of Commerce, and I will be today's host, so to say. So I will be only shortly introducing the speakers of the day. I would like to start with some short, I don't know, preparatory rules. So first of all, please be aware that we are recording this webinar. So if you don't want your name or your face to be shown for further people to see that you are here, please just mute yourself, turn off the video so that your identity is protected. So we are also registering it, and we are also live streaming it on Facebook. I will shortly put also in the chat the link to the Facebook live streaming. It's on our National Climate Kick Facebook page, but we will put it there so you can also share it in your networks if you feel like it. Why are we here today? So we are boosting a series of 7 webinars. This is the first one, but we will have 6 more to follow until the end of the year. In today's webinar, we will have a short introduction about our project, what we aim, who are the partners, and what are our objectives. You will see that we are aiming high, and we have a strong team and a strong collaboration between 5 countries. And we will have, after that, short presentations or short introductions in what is the state of play in 2020 regarding circular economy in our countries. That is Romania, Germany, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Greece. So we have various representation from all these countries, and we want to get a glimpse of what is the state of play in 2020 regarding circular economy. Our speakers for today are Marian Vasile. He's a circular economy expert. He's based here in Timișoara, Romania. After that, we will have Jana Nicolas, a researcher from Wuppertal Institute of Climate, Environment and Energy from Germany. We will have Milan Veselinov from Circ Icon. He's one of the brains of this project. He's the leader of the project. We will have Mariana Hamamnova, the executive director of Cleantech Bulgaria, and Phoebe Konduri from Athena Research and Innovation Center in Information, Communication and Knowledge from Greece. All of them will have 10 to 15 minutes. They will try to get a glimpse or to have for us to have an idea where we stand in circular economy, what are the risks, what are the opportunities, and where we should focus our efforts in the next months. As I said before, this is only the first webinar. We will follow up with other interesting topics and themes. And we would also like to hear from you. So during today's presentations, please feel free to use the chat functions. It will be like a way to reach us with questions, with ideas, with suggestions. Even though today we have a short Q&A session at the end, we promise to take into account your suggestions and questions and design and develop the further webinars in order to have a right response to your feedback. So please share your thoughts, share your ideas, ask your questions in the chat functions, because we want this to be a co-creative atmosphere. Even though, yeah, we have limitations of times, and we have many speakers, so the Q&A session is limited. We want to put your thoughts into our further development of the project. Enough being said, so don't forget that we are recording, so stop the video if you don't want to be part of it. Don't forget about the chat function. And this being said, I will just introduce my colleague, Adriana Leș. She is in charge of the Circular Economy Beacon in Romania. And she will do a short introduction about what we are aiming for, and what are the results that we hope to have together until the end of this year. So Adriana, I will just stop sharing my screen, and I invite you to share your screen.
Hi everybody, I will do a short presentation of our project that is financed by EIT, Climate Kick, through Innovation Ecosystem, Cross-European Ecosystem Program. We have the total budget of our project for 2020 around 270,000 euros. The goal of our project is to build an ecosystem for circular, climate-related innovation that catalyzes systems transition in sequences from experiment through collaboration to implementation. The main orientation for coming years is systemic business support. Our consortia is formed of 6 partners: Wuppertal Institute, FinTech Bulgaria, Timiș Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Commerce of Serbia, Athena Research and Innovation Center, and Siricon from Serbia. And we are all directly involved in the circular innovation development in the Balkans, and we have agreed to build a circular economy ecosystem that will bridge some of the most obvious gaps in transition towards climate neutral circular economy in the region. These gaps are lack of understanding on concrete circular business opportunities and lack of innovative circular business acumen. The project is planned to kick off a multi-year process to develop a circular economy ecosystem and services that will enable the transition to circular economy in Western Balkans. But for this year, our project goal is to conduct a complex analysis of business needs and assess the potential for systemic business collaboration for circular economy transition in our region. And the objective for 2020 is to implement a resilient, regionally fit implementation process framework for circular sustainable solutions into business, while directly connecting the 6 Balkan countries and 2 other countries for Europe. We follow one common thread of successful collaboration, abbreviated as VIRE, vision and values, aligning development paths and aspirations, information regarding needs, policies, demands, facts and figures, resources mainly in form of knowledge, finance, innovation and human resources, experience, creation of a combined complementary experience pool in various circular economy domains. Our essence is buyer sharing. Circular economy, because general orientation is systemic innovation and implementation. The plan is to bridge gaps between innovation center, business and policy makers. The plan is also to assess and align policies while mapping regional needs in order to develop regional solutions to regional recognized challenges. The main activity of the project are as follows. The first work package aims to establish a transfer of experience from Western Europe partners to Balkan partners. The focal point of this transfer are frameworks and the process that are tested and working in the West, and to reshape them in order to fit the Balkan context. As a result of these actions, the co-design framework and implementation methods are to be delivered in a trainer-trainer format. The work package 2 tackles business actors. It pinpoints a systemic circular economy innovative approach that enables implementation. It forms around learning by doing and testing the newly formed framework in practice. Newly trained consultants will systematically analyze the client companies and give the first recommendation on systemic life cycle, address challenges that tackle the whole value chain and challenge the old linear business models with suggesting new circular market approaches. Providing partners, Germany and one more outside of EIT Climate Kick network will serve as expert consultants in order to ensure high quality of implementation and seamless information and the experience exchange. At the same time, it is imperative to achieve the recognition of common legal and policy barriers and the recommendation for potential policy changes design. The third work package, co-design sustainability, is of a strategic importance, and its aim is to provide a future-proof design of beacons operations and plan scaling in impact, its strategic alignment with other EIT Climate Kick programs and its financial independence. The goal of the fourth work package is to promote retrofitting and circular urban planning while connecting cities in a circular manner and providing space for innovation catalyzers to be established. And the last activity is project management and administration and communication. Our results for this year are 20 trained local circular economy, 4 business clients who are actively implementing measures in their companies, trained the trainers curriculum, paper with recognized policies barriers, a first of a kind common knowledge and experience pool, and the circular economy implementation framework. We are carefully supporting you through innovation, systemic circular transitions times, and with this initiative, we invite you to become part of our network. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Adriana. Please mute yourself, because otherwise everybody could hear that we are in the same room, sharing the same desk, but sitting opposite each other. So thank you for your short introduction. Now we will get into the core subject of today's webinar, that is the state of play of circular economy in our countries. And now I would like to invite the first speaker of today, Marian Vasile, managing partner at Zalmo Expert Consult. He will try to give an overview about what is happening in Romania, what are the national strategies, the national documents, funding opportunities, what are the risks of transition to circular economy. So to have an overview of what is the situation regarding circular economy in Romania. So Marian, I will invite you to share your screen. And you will have maximum 15 minutes for your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Christina. Hello to all of you. I'm pleased to meet you. I will share now my desktop. Are you able to see my desktop in presentation mode?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I will start my presentation with some facts, analyses, and conclusions for Romania, of course. You can see the agenda. I hoped that I had more time at my disposal, but hopefully I will be efficient enough. So because I'm first speaker, I will tell you some words about circular economy. Circular economy is about sharing economy, reuse, extending product life, reconditioning, remanufacturing, upcycling, and so on. So just a moment, because I have an issue with Zoom. Okay, so mostly it is about asset recirculation, resource efficiency and productivity, and waste valorization. There are a lot of concepts under this circular economy umbrella. So the economic sector share is, as you see it, practically in GDP, in terms of GDP, services have 57%, industry 29%. You can see here that in terms of gross value added, the industry has 25%, and this category, trade, transportation, accommodation, 20%. And an enumeration of the products, proeminent products, is as you see it here. For example, electric machinery and equipment, chemicals, food, timber, construction materials, and so on. Now I use some data from Eurostat. As you may see, Romania consumes a lot. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a very high resource productivity and also not so high energy productivity. The municipal waste per capita is somewhat low, which is good, but the recycling rate of this waste is also not so good, unfortunately. As you saw the other figures, the generation of waste without the major mineral waste is high, and the recycling rate for this category is low. Now, you can see here that also in terms of trading with recyclable raw materials, we are not standing too good. Also, the circular material use rate is not so great, but the figures show that the private investments and gross value added is better in the circular economy domain. Here you can see the generated waste by economic activity. And also the trends along the years. So with the gray color, you see Romania, and here you have the average for European Union. So for example, for the circular material use rate, we went down. For example, for the generation of waste, we have an improvement of the situation. And also for the share of renewable energy, we have an improvement of situation. Okay, so of course, because we are part of the European Union, we have more legislation packages which are relevant to the circular economy. We have the waste regime package, which includes also the waste for constructions and demolitions. You see here that we have legislation for waste storage. For example, we have for electronics and electric equipment, packaging, and so forth. In terms of planning, of course, we adhered to the common EU targets. And here you can see that we have a national strategy for circular economy in development. It should be finished end of this year. We have also some strategies regarding sustainable development. They are not referencing the circular economy so greatly, let's say. So practically they address the sustainability development in a sense. Then I can tell you that we have a national strategy for waste management and also a national plan, which unfortunately is not accompanied by relevant investment efforts. This is a statement of the so-called European Institute of Romania. Okay. A good thing is that we have a national lab for waste management with 3 premises in Bucharest, Galați, and Bacău. And last thing to mention about this planning framework is that, of course, we have other relevant indirect framework for green economy, sustainable development, competitiveness, industrial policy, green acquisitions, and so on. Okay, regarding the general situation, probably the biggest problem of Romania is that the management system is mostly based on waste storage. We have the highest rate in EU, but the good thing is that most Romanians are willing to switch to circular economy. There were some open letters to the government which were created and issued by some dedicated institutions and organizations. We have, of course, some incentives for resource efficiency. For example, in terms of contribution for the circular economy, some financial instruments, landfill tax. And there were few financing schemes and initiatives of the government and parliament. Now, you can see here that there was a review of the European Commission issued in 2019. The main conclusions are the following. Circular economy in Romania remains underdeveloped, even if we have a great potential in this direction. Also, waste management remains a key challenge. We have a very low recycling rate for the municipal waste. It is about 14% altogether, and very high landfilling rates. Unfortunately, the Romanian products with eco label are only 24 in number, and you can see here the high number in the EU. Also, we are only on the 23rd place for eco-innovation, and only 19 organizations from EU have this EMAS license, meaning for eco management. The study says, and this review says, that most Romanian companies have low environmental awareness. Okay, I think you all know that there is a circular economy stakeholder platform. Unfortunately, Romania has uploaded only 5 good practices. Even if we have more, you will see about that. And here you can see some good example of the some relevant facts about the companies, also from this review of the European Commission. For example, with this color, you can see the percentage for the SMEs that have taken resource efficiency measures, which is lower than the EU average. Okay, we have not so much time, so I will be concentrated and focused. I think you've heard about the Eurobarometer. So practically this implies a survey, and the results are as it follows. So the SMEs which have taken CE relevant measures in Romania said that they did something about energy saving, material saving, internal recycling, and so forth. But the figures are not so high. Now, these data are based on a scientific paper, and it also reveals that most of the SMEs which took part to this study, most of them realized only few actions about circular economy. Some of the actions are underway, but this yellow color here indicates a lot of strategies which are not there, and of course the actions are not implemented or underway. Okay, so regarding this survey of the European Institute of Romania, I will indicate some facts. So the sectors with potential to increase resource productivity are the following ones. Okay, most relevant waste streams are from packaging, electronics and electrical devices, construction, and so on. There are, of course, some obstacles to implement circular economy. The top one is infrastructure costs. There were some proposed measures to grow the circular economy potential, and you can see here that most of the responders said that awareness should be more pushed. Okay, and regarding the instruments which should be there in order to facilitate the circular economy, you can see here the distribution of the responses. Okay, so I have my own local feedback regarding the circular economy efforts. I was trainer in February last year. We had 20 participants, mostly enthusiastic, but it was not so easy to find them, I would say. Also, I can tell you that I visited personally more than 20 big companies, and the interest was somewhat low with respect to circular economy. I applied as a county councillor a project for a decision, a county council decision, in order to have some local studies and afterwards to create a strategy for the circular economy. It remained without a high interest, but when there were some perspectives for financing, then things moved forward, I would say. I wrote some blogs, I went to some conferences, and I felt that the interest was medium, I would say. And now I am part of an initiative group which is focused on aqua-related topics, with the short-term objective to organize a webinar, international webinar, and then maybe to create a cluster. In Romania, there are many, I would say, circular economy related initiatives. You can see them here. So some of them are part of some EU projects, but some of them are not. I would underline, for example, this project, Genesis Biopartner project, which is implemented a cogeneration plant based on organic material from agro-food waste. Also, maybe I would highlight this this facility here, which uses the sludge from the sewage treatment plants. Then there are some big companies which do a great job in terms of circular economy principles. This regional development agency center, we have 8 in Romania, and this one is called Center, issued also some circular economy programs, even a voucher, so with non-reimbursable funds. We have this educational platform. There are some recycling campaigns realized by big companies with big names. And also there are some online platforms which do a great job in terms of collecting waste and recycling it together with the partners. In Romania, there is an interest of the scientific staff. And as I told you, regarding the good practices, there are many, but unfortunately they are not all uploaded on the public platforms. So I told you about this stakeholder platform, but there are also maybe 15 good practices from Romania on the Interreg platform. We have more dedicated organizations in Romania. Most of them are in the big regional centers. Benefits are many, of course. I think I will not mention them. You may know them, most of you. But I would underline some aspects about the needs of the companies by using this example from the textiles sector. So this is also part of a study of a scientific paper. And as you may see here, okay, there were some tens of responders categorized in teams. But you can see here that there are some issues. For example, no support from the public authorities, or lack of entrepreneurs dealing with waste, or lack of centers to collect the waste, and so forth. Okay, Now, regarding the risks in Romania, this is my own compilation. What you see here, I will concentrate on the first ones only. So I can tell you that Romanians had in the past and still have some competencies which are circular economy relevant. Hopefully they will not be lost. They will be not lost. Also, we had some very good habits which were relevant for reutilization and longer use. Hopefully, of course, they will not be lost. Also, we have many, from my point of view, many innovations which are relevant to circular economy, even if they are not registered. This is due because of the bureaucracy. They are not registered, but there are many, I would say. And you can see all the other risks here. This is a compilation which is actually focused on Romania. They are not general. And I can tell you also that in terms of risks in the transition phase, because of my experience with the public sector, I can tell you that I have some emotions regarding the future regulation which will be issued. Also, in case of not proper frameworks, there will be some speculations, additional pollution, and also loss of enthusiasm and trust. And hopefully we will have enough instruments to deploy our initiatives. Usually you get some oppressive regulations, but the instruments are not there, or they are not very efficient. Okay, so regarding the funding sources, maybe you know that last days in July, the government has published this national investment plan for the relaunch of the economy. Unfortunately, it references the circular economy only for the mining sector. We have, of course, some other references which are relevant, for example, for competitiveness, resource efficiency, digital economy, and so on. All of them are important and they will help the circular economy, but the focus is not on circular economy, as I mentioned. I told you about this sea voucher which is available in the north-west region of Romania. The sums are not too great. There are some tens of thousands of euros to be used by the SMEs, but anyway, it is something and it is good. There are some grants from Norway to create some green solutions. They are relevant to circular economy, of course, but they are not directly linked to the circular economy. And I can tell you that in the future, I talked to a Secretary of State, and I know some informations. So the regional operational program will have circular economy measures for SMEs, but they will be also indirect. They will be not issued in a dedicated manner. Also, we have two other operational programs called Durable Development and Fair Transition. They will have some measures which are relevant. We have this Environment Fund for Administration, which it is based on a program with open calls from time to time. And of course, there are some other programs which are relevant indirectly. Okay, this is my last slide with content. According to the European Institute of Romania, the potential for circular economy in Romania is this one: from mining, sludge, food waste. But I would add personally these areas also. For example, waste from agriculture, packaging, textiles, constructions, or reconditioning of electric and even metallic parts. Sharing economy, I think, is good for Romania, and it is attractive. And also the reuse of products, services and tools is with potential here. Of course, there is a great potential in all areas of Romania. I think you remember the figures which I have shown at the beginning of my presentation, and they are highlighting this potential.
Okay, Marianne, I have to stop you. I'm sorry, but we are really running out of time, and we have more speakers for today.
Yes.
So,
this was all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that it was a very detailed and very elaborated presentation. I encourage all participants to use the chat function for questions. I'm sure that Marianne's presentation maybe raised some questions or some ideas or some feedback. So please use the feedback option in the chat. I also saw there's some participants that don't hear me well, so I'm trying to keep the microphone closer to my mouth. And now I'm inviting our second speaker, Jana Nicolas from Wuppertal Institute. She will be presenting us some financing circular economy, coming from Germany and coming from an institute with more experience in circular economy projects. We will have a different insight. I will be sharing my screen because she's using an iPad, so we will work together through the slides. So, Jana, are you ready?
Ready. Thank you, Christina. That is all of the beauty of home officing, that you sometimes have to switch to devices that you're not usually using in this setting. So thank you very much for helping me. And thank you to everybody else to spend your lunch break with us, basically. I am Jana Niklas. I'm a researcher from the Wuppertal Institute that is focusing on climate, environment, and energy, and circular economy, as we always say. I am from the circular economy department or division, and there we are focusing our work on challenges and questions concerning the design, the infrastructure of policy mixes, governance structures, and the necessary innovation processes that we need to transform our economy to a more circular economy. Today, I would like to give you just a very brief overview over the EU funding situation that the Cicerone project, a Horizon 2020 project, discovered, and then also give you a bit of an overview of maybe other forms of funding that businesses could attract without relying necessarily on funding programs if the national funding programs are not suitable or the EU funding programs might not be accessible. So we're starting off with some information from the Cicerone project. The Cicerone project is a Horizon 2020 project, as I already said, and they discovered that there are quite some gaps sometimes between the national, the local, and also the European level of strategies and policies that are implemented, and also the programs. And they are working on developing a strategic coordination for objectives of this international, national, or European, national, and local, or regional way of trying to conquer and establish the circular economy. They were looking into the current situations of the research and innovation programs that are out there in the European Union at the moment, and they did a survey between 24 partners of the Cicerone program and invited more country points to answer some questions. And what they found out is that the source of funding for research and innovation in circular economy is to a great extent coming from the national level, and then we have a considerably smaller amount coming from the regional level, and then again a largely considerably smaller amount coming from the European level. So the national programs do play quite an important role in the funding situations. Next slide, please. What they also find out is that most of those programs or projects funded throughout the programs are planned out for a duration of 1 to 3 years, and they consist to either mostly 1 to 5 million euros, or they are bigger projects that have a budget of over 13 million euros. So there's quite a gap in between those. It has to do also with the types of research and innovation that is funded, as well as the technological readiness level for the projects that are funded. Next slide. Thanks. They also found out that there is a different focus in the funding programs. So most of the programs considered with the circular economy are looking into the resources like waste or biomass, and mostly also on the end of life phase. Between the other life phases, there's not that much of a difference, so they're quite balanced, but the majority of the programs are focusing, and the funds coming from the programs are focusing on the end of life phase. Also one back please. Thanks. They also found that there is mostly a focus on the technology and process optimization. So not so much on completely new business models, etc. And they also, the most sectors profiting from the funds are coming from the manufacturing, or are the manufacturing and the waste sector. So that also shows a bit of the conclusion that we just had on the very last slide from Marian, that still a lot of people think that circular economy has to do something only with waste, which is not the case from our understanding. It covers everything. It also covers those different life cycle stages. It also covers circular design. It also covers social behavior changes. It also covers regulation. It also covers different business model approaches, etc. So that was also something that they found. But first we go to the next slide. Yeah, the technological readiness level is that most of course, we are looking into the research and innovation programs, but those are, the funds are going mostly into field pilot projects, or at the very end to market introduction. But there is not so much in scaling up, which is also a lack that we are seeing. Next slide. We have a summary of that. Yeah. So the scaling up of projects is something that is still a bit missing, and people that are in this phase of developing something can be left alone a bit. So it might be harder to find the funds for that. Not saying that they're not out there, and there's a lot of changing in the funding programs at the moment and the one to come. But still we need to bridge the gap between research and implementation, and also we need to put in the consumer and the behavior orientation as well. So we need to educate people, not only in school, but starting at schools, and we need to go further and also educate everybody alongside in the different professional in their professional jobs continuously, to shape everybody also to think into what can we do in our position at the moment. And the social behavior is also something that is not addressed so thoroughly at the moment, but since the circular economy is an innovation agenda for not only the economy part, but also the society, we really need to see also how technology and innovation can drag along the society so that we can really see the changes that are necessary to happen. Yeah, thank you. But as I already mentioned, sometimes depending on where you are or in which stage of your project or of your startup or ideas in your business you are, depending on in which country you're sitting in, etc. It might be difficult to see to which programs you could apply, and maybe you're not meeting all of the requirements. And nonetheless, it might be interesting to also look into what other financing alternatives could be out there for you. So next slide. You might have heard about the value hill, just in case you haven't. In our traditional make, use, and dispose cycle, we rather tend to see that once a product is entering the use phase, it continuously loses its value and it ends up as being a waste. And we would like also in a circular economy to push back up this value up the hill. This could be done by different business options, but different business models and approaches. We could put in reuse and refurbishment. There are things like pay-per-use. There is a very essential point is being still in touch with your customer and so to say with your product after you sold it. You could kind of partner those different ideas and approaches with different business models, and there are plenty of good ideas and concepts out there already that you might already know. But what we could see also is that these new approaches can lead to a very different way of revenue structures and a very different way of seeing your customer and a different relationship with them. So next slide. From a financial structure, we could see that there are good profit margins in those new or more circular business models. Let's say, for example, the pay-per-use or a product as a service model. Because what you're trying to achieve is that you have a longer or higher lifetime of your products, that you are building good and strong customer relationships, that you have an opportunity to make your product last longer and to also get back parts and material that you can reuse again, so that you are getting more resilient, less likely to be approached by closing markets, as we just saw it, that sometimes the supply chains are cut off. So this is very, very good, and you have positive environmental and social impacts as well. This could lead from, of course, longer lifetime of the products. This could lead to people being more able to afford high quality goods because you have different payment options. This could include back to work programs for the people, and you do have continued returns. If you look into product as a service models or leasing, you do have continued returns on your financial side. But next slide, please. This also implies some financing challenges, because if you think of the way it usually works, you do have a product and you sell it once, and then you already have the full amount of costs and margin covered. So having something like, for example, a product service system or a pay-per-use or leasing, it means that the common financing structures are disrupted, and that you do have to have a higher upfront investment, and that you have higher overhead costs than you would normally do, because you might need to be in touch with your customers more often to see if the project is still working, if there needs to be repair, etc. And there is longer payback periods, but the periods in which you get money tend to be longer. Nonetheless, those risks can be perceived as high by financiers, and it could be rather challenging to find the right financier to go into the business model with you, especially if you are with a very new and innovative idea out there, seeking investors, seeking partners, and you do not yet have any good practice examples because you have a new idea, and this can be quite hard. But nonetheless, there are some good ideas on how you could get out of this. I would like to send you to the Recreate policy brief with that after the webinar. Maybe they had some quite good ideas, but it's also that the benefits that you have to sell them. On the policy side and in the financial markets, there has to be some changes too. There needs to be the risks addressments, and the risks calculations need to change and to adapt to new business models. Also, regulations from the government can help to, in the future, speed up financing possibilities for new circular business models. But in the meantime, next slide, and it's already my last one, there are some other means that you could already also consider. One of them is crowdfunding, which I don't think I have to talk about too much, which you could address, and then once you have the money, give back people value or revenues or parts of your products, or a discount on products that you are, or services that you are providing. Then there are social impact bonds. That is something where this is, for example, in the Netherlands, they had something where you are trying to put people into a better position, and once it is working, you can get grants from the government. So that is a program that could potentially be set up by your regions. Could be interesting to help get profitable situations for otherwise more social and circular economy, not that profitable business models, like bringing people back to work. In that case, in the Netherlands, they had all prisoners that they were training and then getting back to the workplace, and if it worked, then they got funds from the government. Another one, very new, is equity in people, or rather new, not that established yet. It is that there is, for example, a bank from Austria, and they see something like Vision Capital. So they finance people instead of companies. And it's kind of like a loan, and you are paying back that loan or part of it by, for example, 2 to 10% of your annual revenue or income back to this bank. But this could be a very interesting way of starting up with a business as well. And then there are community-based or community-owned businesses, something that some of you might know from renewable energy projects, wind farms, solar farms, where you are, as a group of people, financing the infrastructure or the buildup of a company, and also benefit from whatever you've been putting up, and you are owning a company together, so to say. And then you have nobody in between. And from the mass, it's not that much for the one person to finance the project. And from the outcome, you have a very direct way of getting back your revenues, because there's no intermediary anymore who also usually wants to have a chunk. That's a very, very broad overview of this. And yeah, from there, maybe that gave some 2-3 ideas of what ways you could use for accessing funds. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Jana, for this presentation. I'm sure this was food for thought, and people could find some useful ideas or things to search for in the near future. I'm happy to see in the chat that you are already exchanging information and questions are already being answered. So I invite all of you to check the chat from time to time, because there's also interesting conversation going on there. Now I will stop sharing my screen and I will invite Milan. Milan from Sir Icon. He's our Serbian circular economy guru. He's the one that mobilized all the partners of this project, and he's the one the driving force of this project. So Milan, I invite you to share your screen and start your presentation. Please don't forget, we have only 15 minutes.
Thanks, Christina. After this introduction, I don't know what to say. Everything is flourishing in Serbia, I guess. Just joke aside, thank you very much for having these 15 minutes or so for getting to know what Serbia does in terms of circular economy. First of all, I hope that you hear me, and I hope that you now see the screen. Good, thanks. I'll be happy to answer also all the questions in chat and afterwards if you have any. And just to introduce my speech is that a lot of things that is happening in Romania, in Bulgaria, is pretty much similar with the ways that are happening in Serbia. But let's cut to the point here. So the overview, what we are going to present today is that unfortunately, the overarching impression of circular economy is that it is still part of or a new guiding set of new guiding principles for waste management. True to be said, we are kind of departing from that narrative in the last couple of years. You're going to see that, but the general perception is that it is like that. So what we're still not doing is we're not including general design principle in practice and also in general communication, but we are doing this in official papers. You will also gonna see this. We had to implement number of legal, legislative and policy changes in these couple of 3 years in order to enable basically buyback and take back systems that will enable return of resources back to use and back to production. And this year we have brought a couple of close to policy documents that we'll discover a little bit later. We have but weak but improving end-of-life system. Basically, waste management is still not really regulated. It is, but it's not really functional. And that being said, we again dispose of or landfill around 95% of what we create and dispose. We have very low resource productivity. We're gonna meet that kind of data as well. We have low energy efficiency, but on the other hand, we did have hurdles in finding data and information in the last couple of years, but Statistical Office of Serbia is slowly introducing indicators for material measurements on the national level, and as well data and information regarding United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So in this sense, it is going to be easier and easier to find what we search for and to plan properly with right data. What is prevalent here is also in Serbia is that there are low financial support. There is still low, very low financial support from the national and regional bodies of Serbia, but we do have support from international organizations such as usually you can see here UNDP, GIZ, OSCE, Climate Kick as well. And they tend to, well, not only, but they are pretty much the only ones that tackle bottom-up solutions. And we'll see what is the narrative between this bottom-up and top-down solutions in Serbia. So I'm going to try to present 3 levels of our implementation and basically number all the initiatives and changes that were happening in the last couple of years. And these will be on the national, regional, and local level. Let's start with this. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll skip this a little bit more about Syricon just for you to know who are you talking on, who is delivering information. Basically, the function of Syricon is to be niched on the niche level with the function of knowledge transfer and to implement circular economy in a systemic way. Basically, the main role is catalyzation of bright, systemic, innovative circular implementation. What we try to depart from is the narrative of solely waste and recycling, but what we are trying to go towards is business acumen, building business acumen, building innovation in Serbia and in region in order to fit the newest trends and European market. That is the main output that we want to achieve. Okay, good. The mission of Syricon and goals of Syricon. Maybe you'll have the presentation, so you'll be able to familiarize with it. But there are 3 pillars that we are trying to enable, and this is uniformal education. Number 2 is basically implementation of circular economy practices and principles. And what we want to also achieve is design out waste through regenerative approach. All of these things are sporadically present in Serbia. And we try, our goal actually, and we will give our best to build the capacity to actually deal with these issues. General conclusion at the beginning about Serbia is that the narrative from 2016 has slightly changed, and mostly in national papers, official documents, and that it comes from waste management to industrial economic development. And we're planning circular economy now in official documents, in official strategies, to be part of our development up until 2030. So these are the main waste law amendments that were done in order to enable circular economy. We have defined end of waste status. We have defined byproducts and criteria for naming waste or products as byproducts. We have improved EPR for medical and for pharmaceutical products and waste. We have more clearly defined ownership over waste and transactions and trade. So basically now we know better who owns waste in which point of time. Then there was a decision brought on usage of oxo-degradable and biodegradable bags in shopping in centers and that need actually additives to degrade. Other than that, we have an overview of EPR schemes in Serbia. Generally, we're facing a poor collection rate. Well, collection is fine, but the separation rate is poor, and preparation for recycling is also poor. We'll see the graphics a little bit later. Direct prevention measurements. So if we're talking about the waste pyramid and direct prevention measurements are absent. We are focusing on collecting and recycling waste. So basically, we're still on the lowest part of the pyramid, lower, not lowest, but lower part of the pyramid. What we did plan is 8 sanitary landfill development. Many of these are in process of being built. Some of them are already built. But in general, if we're tackling these issues, that means that we're landfilling most of our waste, and the resource utilization or end of life utilization is very, very low. So we and Yeah, to conclude, there are a couple of things that are in process, and if we're talking about special streams of waste, they are regulated with financial EPR model, but we still don't have we have drafts of plans to treat these kind of waste streams, but we still don't have them actively implemented. So these come for oil treatment, battery and accumulator treatment, waste of electronics, and waste for asbestos, well, products that contain asbestos. A couple of initiatives, or some of the initiatives, are being organized in order to treat, and there are actors that are treating these waste streams, but we still don't have a national overarching plan to do this. So these are the newest documents that we're talking about. So and now ex ante analysis, which is the new way that the Serbian government has to deliver new national documents according to international EU regulations or rules or suggestions, is that we've done the ex ante analysis in 2019, basically, about how circular economy will affect our country if it is implemented. And the main conclusions are, you can see the red ones and you can see the green ones. So the red ones, so there's something that we really need to improve. And the overall conclusion is that we do have a very narrow understanding of circular economy concept, and we have to improve it in order to tackle or to pinpoint further development. Yeah, what else is interesting here is that because non-systemic presentation, we do have a lot of ad hoc solutions and ad hoc problems that are being raised. So you can imagine that currently you can picture solutions as we're running around and trying to extinguish thousands of fires, instead of having a systemic and systematic approach how to deal with the whole transition towards circular economy. On the other side, there are a couple of opportunities that were recognized, and these are here in green on the bottom, and that is something that, from my personal perspective, is also a huge opportunity, is SME and supply chain sectors, because we do have a huge technological obsolescence present in Serbia, and this is a chance to leapfrog all of that in technologies and also in practices. And circular economy beacons is something that should be here to enable this, and also to enable cross-country support and cross-country collaboration in order to raise the full capacity of the market, and to reduce eventual risk of upfront costs. The latest, I would say, well, yeah, the latest document is Roadmap for Circular Economy in Serbia, which was brought also in 2020. And it is the first comprehensive document that actually tackles innovative side of circular economy, and that tackles industry and economy as a whole, not really only waste management. It tackles, it takes the whole life cycle perspective, and it provisionally suggests priority sectors. But keep in mind that this document is to be changed, is to be shapeable by the ways that Serbia is raising capacities. So the first suggestions are to focus on production industry, that goes from, well, metal casting to textile production, and I don't know, mobile phone or automobile assembly. So everything that is producing. Then number 2 is agriculture and food waste, basically. Third sector is plastics and packaging, and fourth sector is construction industry, which is, as most probably you all know, one of the general priorities in the whole Europe, and basically in the whole world. Industrial policy strategy is something new up until 2030, and goal 5 talks about linear to circular, basically about circular economy, and it also is that's That's let's call it a proof that we're changing the narrative from waste to industrial strategy. And it talks about innovation. It talks about circular value as a growth generator. And it talks about the way that we have to increase our resource and energy efficiency. Okay, and if we're not talking only about the economy, but talking about urban development, there is a new also sustainable and integrated urban development strategy up until 2030, and in number of measures in mentioned, not precisely circular economy, but the things that are very much connected to it. And I will just highlight measure 1.3 that talks about the provision of incentives to regenerate and to use in novel ways the brownfield sites. So that really aligns with European Green Deal and Circular Economy Action Plan, where it says that renovation and restoration would take a major or prominent place in this construction sector. All right. Okay. Right. So what else is here is that last year we have promoted green public procurement through stakeholder synergy. And basically the conclusion is that the huge opportunity is there and the huge need is there to start implementing green public procurement, and it will also align us with the European Union efforts. And we have brought criteria for 4 product groups, and that being furniture, paper, computers and monitors, and service and cleaning products, with the accent that the public procurement should follow more and more and implement more and more. And when I say public procurement, I mean I think about both national and local public procurement. And these are taken as pull effects for circular economy and green production. There are 2 more analyses that were done, analysis and assessments of VPR schemes, which was done 2017 and will be refreshed this year, which aims to compare the development of how we treat waste, and is there any, and what are the improvements in the sense of circular economy with the focus of reutilization or utilization of waste material. And also we have been analyzing how do we invest in innovation with the focus of eco-innovation that should be leading circular economy development in Serbia. That was also done 2017, and this year we will refresh this. This is all nice to say here in documents, but still, this is how it looks like. And I'll skip the clip because we don't have time, but generally you can see a lot of waste on roads. Yep, we're gonna skip this, we don't have time. Waste on next to the roads, and the operationalization of all the waste management plants are not really as they seem. To conclude with this chapter, we have gross expenditure, we have a huge difference in 2 pillars of circular economy between European average and Serbia. And from our GDP, we invest, it is approximated that expenditures on research and development in Serbia are pretty much 8 times less than European Union, which is the medium. If we would compare this to neighboring countries, we would stand better, but still this is a guiding star, which is kind of a benchmark with what we need to achieve. And there is a huge gap between both of these indicators, so we have to deal with this, and circular economy should enable us to be better in these figures, and other way around. So if national government and support comes in these kind of directions, it will support circular economy development. To conclude, we're on the right track, but yeah, still a way to go. And this is why Circular Economy Beacons is planned to stay at least 5 to 10 years in order to facilitate change, catalyze change in the right direction. Okay, now we're lowering our aim, going to regional level. And one of the main centers is Chamber of Commerce Center of Circular Economy, which is basically the cohesive factor in the whole Serbian economy or circular economy narrative. And its goal is to inform, educate, and prepare business for transition towards circular economy. And yeah, definitely some of the classical Chamber of Commerce roles is liaison, promoter, initiator, connector, and well, let's call it advisor as well. There are a couple of projects that are currently running regarding circular economy or climate-related things that could be synergetically working with each other. And I would here pinpoint point number 2 and point number 3, which are Academy for Circular, actually all these 4 points, sorry for that. Academy for Circular Economy, I'll talk about that in a minute, and Zero Waste Recovery or COPA tailings in Eastern and Southern European region. So we can see that even in mine industry, there are initiatives to recover materials. I will also talk about the last one in a minute or in a second. And here we go. One of the most recognized, let's say, one of the initiatives that had good results in Serbia is Academy for Circular Economy that was aimed at the SME sector, and it basically with a goal to uniform the knowledge across sectors about innovative systemic circular economy. And we can say that this was delivered by Serbian Chamber of Commerce and AIT into 2018 and 2019 with the support with UNTP as well. But the main thing is that we did have results of changing the narrative and changing the approach to circular economy, and also actors from the business sector and from the industry sector, also some entrepreneurs, saw their role in the whole circular economy system shift. So either through strategy or through innovation in their business perspective and business delivery, they have moved more towards circular economy outcomes. With this, not only did we deliver knowledge, systemic knowledge, where we try to connect the tools and systems thinking and other important things, policy changes, etc. But we also want to create a network of business sectors that will, in collaborative way, bring new solutions, new circular solutions. And I can say that it is already happening. I know, Christina, right? Soon I have to finish. Thank you. Other than this, on the regional level, we also have a very active cooperation between German government and Serbian in the form of GIZ, and they have done a number of projects, and huge projects in the last 10 years, I think, even maybe more. But the things that were in focus for the last couple of years were analysis and guidelines for 2 value chains in Serbia that were primarily focusing on the HoReCa sector and plastic packaging. And you will see how they did manage to utilize these analysis, assessments, and guidelines later on in practical manner. Also, they have helped in regional plans for sanitary landfills with promoting principles of circular economy. These were done in 3 regions in Serbia. And also they've supported a circular economy center of excellence, which is basically the let's call it a scientific pillar that is based in Novi Sad, city of Novi Sad, and scientific pillar that should have a role to bring new methodologies to do scientific researches and support from that side be the scientific pillar of circular economy. So very structurally strong project behind these partners. Other than this, we have Center for Cleaner Production that is promoting many of the aspects of circular economy. We have circular economy beacons that we have talked about already. And let me see if there is something important to tell you here. Well, yeah, basically these are our goals of circular economy beacons. If many of you that are encountering circular economy should be familiar or interested in some of these. So what we want to do is provide expertise in the countries that circular economy beacons connect. Basically, what we want to achieve is also to spread the impact of circular economy beacons throughout the whole Balkans. So we want to support each other in this way through fast knowledge and practice distribution, and we want to source cutting-edge circular solutions from the whole Europe and see how to amend that and how to apply that to our needs. The second point is we want to support circular and state-of-art niche adaptation or adoption. Sorry. The one thing that we saw that is missing is really bottom-up solutions. So the culture in Serbia is mainly waiting for the top-down driven policies. So they have to be forced in order to change a large portion of how they do their business. And what we see here is that a huge underutilization of novel solution is present, and we want to tap in this potential and support this niche adoption and niche innovation. Then number three is attract investors and funders for novel circular solution. This is something that will come definitely in the next couple of years, not immediately, but we want to commercialize these things. We want to put them on the market. Support best practice and metric-driven policy making. Basically, at the beginning, I said that we have issue with data and with information, and that's something we want to change. We want to support analysis. We want to support right decision making that will guide systemic policy making, and like exclude this ad hoc approach. Guide regional supply chains through collaborative circular transition. Basically, help our tier 2, tier 3 supply chains that for the new needs on the market, especially on the circular economy European market. Sorry, I'm reading chat. If Christina will just tell me, like, that's it. We are also included in ISO technical committee for creating a new ISO circular economy standard. A couple of experts are there in this committee, and basically we know from firsthand what is happening, and we're also influencing the design of it. And some of the last things, I think it's the third last slide, is that recently we had a meeting with Chamber Investment Forum for West Balkan countries and CEFTA region. And what was concluded is that uniformal education and knowledge about this innovative side of circular economy is obviously missing. And one of the official proposals and recommendation is that already mentioned Academy for Circular Economy is to be scaled throughout the region in order to have the uniform understanding what circular economy means. Yep, and just to conclude, this is how we stand against Europe average. Energy intensity, this is pretty much what Marian has said already. Well, that's, what is this, 2 and 4, 3.5 times worse than European Union. And the resource productivity, well, 8, let's call it 8 times worse than Europe average. So we definitely have to improve, and the strategies that I've mentioned do tackle these issues. And if we implement circular economy solutions, but systemic solutions, we are going to be better in these indicators. So a lot of things are cooking, a lot of things are initiated in the last period. And what we need to do is take care that synergetically guide all these initiatives, because if not, we are going just to disperse energy, money, and efforts in many directions, and we're not gonna achieve what is the ultimate end, which is a circular economy market. Conclusion, yeah, I skipped a couple of things because they're on the niche level, and we have mushrooming incubation initiatives in a couple of areas. But you will be able to see this. Regarding funding, not much to say. Jana has covered many things, but there are new funds from Horizon Europe that will be coming also through European Institute of Technology, Innovation and Technology. UNDP is always here to be on the edge of developing new programs and projects. And in conclusion, I want to take a deep breath before saying this. It's well, very low business and consumer awareness about the risks of overconsumption and benefits on innovative circular economy. First steps are definitely being made in the right direction, being that we switch the narrative from purely waste management to industrial development. Big international organizations involvement and also help. This is where majorly financial aid is coming. We still don't have programs and financing lines from governmental perspective. And what is important here to say that also circular economy topic sits currently in Ministry of the Environment, which is good, but it is not enough if we don't scale it horizontally through other ministries as well and other ways to support it, because it's definitely a cross-cutting topic, and we need to tackle it from many various sides. Funds are necessary to be allocated to circular solutions, already said. The framework is starting to be built, and by that I say that the program for circular economy is going to be delivered, is in plan to be delivered this year. So that should improve the situation about funds and sectors where we will prioritize circular economy development. Practice on a local level and a company level is almost completely absent. It's not, but even if it's not really systemically tackled. It's something that is recognized as from waste to resource, and then we have a product, but it's not really systemically tackled. And many times I've faced companies that say or that think they are implementing circular economy, and yes, they do in some aspect, but definitely not in a systemic way, and they're not really aware of what circular economy is other than their product. What we need to do is unlock niche and bottom-up solution and not to overly depend on policies. So this is something that's really missing in Serbia. And what we should investigate is our options of industrial symbiosis, still not assessed, remanufacturing, reconditionings, and all other tighter cycles of circular economy. They're still not assessed and analyzed, and that's also why circular economy beacons want to help in these areas. Yeah, you can see a lot of
Milan,
initiatives.
Milan, I have to cut in. I will lose my job as a facilitator if I don't stop you.
Done. Okay, many things to mention. I thought also we have 20 minutes, but okay.
You are 30 minutes now, so you are now at 30 and I have to stop you. I'm sorry for that. I'm really sorry. I encourage everybody to check the chat and to continue asking questions and answering their questions. We are really lacking time, unfortunately. We have two more speakers, Bulgaria and after that Greece. So please use the opportunity to talk to each other and to exchange ideas using the chat function. So now, thank you, Milan. And please check the chat box because you have some questions there and some interesting initiatives. And now I will give the floor to Mariana Hamanova from Cleantech Bulgaria.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, you can start sharing your screen. Yes, Mariana is working, and of course Cleantech Bulgaria for many years within Climate Kick, and not only Climate Kick and other kicks, and they have excellent results working with ministries, circular economy in ministries. So I'm sure that her expertise and her insights will be very interesting for all of us. So Mariana, your floor is yours. Please try to keep the 15 minutes.
Sure. Thank you, Christina, very much for the introduction. Hello, everyone, also from Bulgaria. As Christina mentioned, we are here together from Cleantech Bulgaria. I'm Mariana, and next to me is Maria, who is working on the Circular Economy Beacons project. I'm Executive Director of Cleantech Bulgaria, and I will really try to give an overview about the developments related to circular economy in Bulgaria with some highlights, not going into very much details because I understand that we lack of time, and I will be happy to answer your questions or send more information if requested additionally. So here I'm starting with one very nice photo. It's from 2018 when Bulgaria was leading the presidency of the Council of the European Union. And this is the forum that we, in Cleantech Bulgaria, we organized this together with the Bulgarian government on the topic circular economy and clean technologies. Actually, what happened there, this sets the basis for developments of different type of initiatives on governmental level. The forum was under the auspices of the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Economy of Bulgaria, supported by a lot of stakeholders, and also not only on national but also international level. And this gave the, let's say, initial push to start working with these people and with these experts on different topics. Cleantech Bulgaria is actually working in three main so-called, we call them pillars, and they are business and entrepreneurship, science and education, and sustainable cities and regions. So in these three pillars, we are trying to cover everything related to innovations, and in particular, innovations with applied results. Because we believe that we should use the good ideas, the startups, and everything what is coming from the entrepreneurial ecosystem, implementing it in industry, implementing it in concrete solutions, or testing them on municipal city level, using the municipalities as test bed for these innovations. In these three different pillars, we have different initiatives that I will present very briefly because they are working in a synergetic way, something that Milan mentioned, and I believe it's really important is to connect these stakeholders and make them understand the challenges that the other stakeholder group has, and in this way try to provide solutions. So we at Cleantech, we are kind of a connecting, we're having connection functions to all these stakeholders, and we work with them on innovation projects. This is usually with larger universities or research organizations where we develop joint projects for concrete technology innovations. But on the other hand, we also accelerate them and support the development of these technologies and commercialization of these solutions through different technology transfer and commercialization services that we offer here. We do a lot in the field of circular economy in that regard, because almost everything related to water, waste, and energy has its circular pathway that we are trying to, in a way, structure and present it further as a concrete action plan for the different stakeholders. Of course, we see the cities and regions, besides the business, of course, as the main players in this process, because the infrastructure is crucial. So we are trying to work with cities and explain them that the money that they do have for waste or water treatment plants or for really physical infrastructure that is necessary should be connected to certain business, industrial, or citizen needs. And what we do here is pilot projects, really on small scale projects that we try to support the real developments. I will mention just a few of them. Some are related to urban transportation. We had an initiative with Sofia municipality, which was about testing for the first time in Bulgaria the electric bicycle sharing system, just with 10 bicycles. It was a project together with Climate Kick, by the way, starting in 2018. And now we have a quite developed e-bicycle infrastructure here in Bulgaria, already after testing certain solutions, testing the business models, testing the prices and everything. So we do believe a lot in pilot projects, piloting with municipalities. We also support the different municipalities in helping them draft or in a way amend the strategic documents. We see this as a very big challenge because the normative framework is usually very old, or if it's not old, it is not updated still the right level that it will allow circular solutions to be implemented. One example of this is, for example, right now in Bulgaria, we are struggling a lot in order to define what is waste. And if it's waste, then the regulation says, you know, you cannot do anything with it. And even if the company has an idea or a project which is treating that waste afterwards, they are not allowed to do this in different contexts. So they have to be creative around the whole process of waste management. And this makes the process even harder, because right now we talked a lot about barriers. And definitely one of the barriers is the normative and legislative framework that needs to be in a way adapted. Here, I just try to make like 5-6 points with some achievements that we had in the last several years. As Christina mentioned, we are part of the Climate Kick family, but also from the other kicks, Energy, and since last month, we are also hub for the EAT manufacturing in Bulgaria. This is not on the slide, but we will add them at this point as well. And we are working with the EAT in a holistic and very systematic way in order really to support the innovations. And we have plenty of interesting projects already realized, with more than 200 green startups supported. And by the way, last week we had one of the startups in the accelerator who has attracted 4 million additional funding, so investment. Now we will of course announce this as well, but really there is a return of these efforts through the years, and there is a way to really showcase these good examples, because they're not few, they're really a lot. We also work with very closely with the national and local public authorities in order to achieve our goals. And one of the main instruments that we are trying to use in that regard is to participate in different working groups with the ministries in order to give this practical insights, everything related to innovation, circularity, or resource efficiency that can be implemented within the strategic documents. We are partners as well in one center of competence, which is more scientific, so-called, so to say, it's quite scientific project actually. It's the lead partner is Sofia University, together with another 7 partners from the universities and research centers in Bulgaria. And we are dealing there as a technology transfer and commercialization unit in order to really find the best scientific results and transform them in working and applied solutions. Here, I would like to present you a few slides on the actual state of the art, what is happening right now in Bulgaria. Of course, all the policies related to the recovery mechanisms, like the new generation EU mechanism, the Green Deal as well is here to mention. They're having right now very intensive, in a way, they're influencing the Bulgarian strategic documents. As you know, now is the time that each country is updating and amending the strategic documents, as well preparing the new operational programs. And in terms of what is really having in a way influence on the SMEs, and what will in the future be an important point in order to assure more funding that goes to circular SMEs, are 2 documents. The National Strategy for Small and Medium Enterprises, that is currently updated, in the process of update, and the Operational Program for Innovation and Competitiveness, that is now in its second draft period. Of course, on the national level, we have a document which is called Bulgaria 2030. It's the national strategic document on the higher level. following the Europe 2030 strategic goals. And this is the main document that also goes in the different horizontal operational programs and ministries. What is interesting here to mention, and I will explain a little bit more about that, is that since 2 years, so 2018, we started one working group together with the Ministry of Economy in that time, and then this working group got a bigger interministerial working group on circular economy, and there we're working together with 6 ministries. And now we see how challenging it is to see the circularity from all the aspects, because it is not about only business models, it is not about only waste or infrastructure. It is really complex in order to take also the agri-food sector, for example, in which is in a different ministry. Then, you know, it's an ongoing process of communication between the authorities. And this is something also now in a process. We are in the 2nd year of one deep demonstration project on circular economy funded by Climate Geek, working very intensively with them on putting the circular economy as a horizontal priority in our smart specialization strategy, which happened, by the way, last year. This is already something like achievement out of our common efforts. And right now we are trying to identify several indicators how to measure the circularity when it's about to allocate funding for circular SMEs. And this is quite challenging, I should say, because here we should, in a way, introduce innovative approaches, but the management authorities usually don't like to be so innovative, you know, they're more conservative structures. And we're trying to keep the balance in order to include different indicators that are allowing to measure the impact of circular actions, but in the same time also to be sure that with these ambitious goals, we are not in a way damaging the implementation of the future operational program. Because circularity is not like only energy efficiency, for example, where you have, you know, a building before the energy efficiency measures, and you have an energy audit, and then you have the building after that with concrete savings that you're able to really see as figures. Circularity, on the other hand, it's much more complex. And here we will appreciate if somebody from the audience or other partners are having experience in this. We can discuss this further, because it's a good opportunity to test something that probably works in other countries in terms of how the governments measure, or financial institutions measure, the impact of their investments in circular projects. So this is I think the most interesting part of what we are doing right now, and the most also let's say ambitious one. Besides that, we have a strong network of we call them key agents of the change. So besides the ministries and the institutions, we work very close with the industry. We are members of the Bulgarian Confederation of Employers and Industrialists, which is the largest association of the Bulgarian business, with members that are producing 2/3 of the GDP of Bulgaria. So this means, you know, it's really the biggest industrial companies are members there, and we are trying to you know, to see the innovation in their businesses as opportunity again for implementing circularity. I should say that the business is having already quite good understanding that they have to do something with the resources in terms of cost savings, in terms of more efficient production processes. And this is something which already it's not a problem to be you know, understood by the business, but nevertheless, smart investment schemes, some kind of a blended finance for this project is needed, because nobody actually wants to invest into risky or into ambitious projects without really having the security in a way that this will lead to better competitiveness on the market. Besides the industry side, which is a very large spectrum, of course, agri-food is one of the topics that we are covering, but also the construction sector, which we see as one of the main, let's say, consumers of the resources, and also main creator of waste. And also this makes it also the biggest, let's say, as an opportunity for innovation. There is a lot to be done in the construction sector. That's why we believe that projects like the circular beacons shows that we should make more companies from the construction sector aware about the opportunities. We should also talk to the so-called, the ones who are giving the money, who are putting the tenders in place, which are usually the local and national governments. And here it's about understanding and common vision where we go, because nobody from the construction sector will really implement circular construction techniques or materials if there is no, in a way, profitable project in which they can really cover the cost and do additionally something good for the environment. And this should be understood by let's say the national and local authorities, because the tenders should be adequately published and managed in order to allow this transition to happen. For your information, my senior partner, Mr. Pejnovski, he's unfortunately not able to join us today. He's a board member in these two last organizations, and through his support also with the national and local governments, we are able to make this happen, because it's about personal contact, it's about years of experience and work with these stakeholders. So these 5 or 6 logos, I know that it looks easy, but behind this stays more than 15 years of experience of people who has worked in the field and are doing now their best a little bit to shift the developments and to make it more not only sustainable, but to have this business logic behind that. We have a lot of analysis on SMEs, startups, or even large companies, and what the circularity means for them. Here we have just a short extract of what they usually say in the surveys or in interviews that we're having with them. And probably this is also covering part of the presentations of the other colleagues, but I will mention just a few of them. Actually for the most of the companies, the resource productivity and resource efficiency is underexploited. So there is a huge potential to work in that sphere. The way to explain this is usually with cost savings or new business opportunities. From our experience, it does not work just with the nice environmental impact idea. It's much more about being able to put this in figures related to savings or new markets, new customers. What is also mentioned by the companies and by the business is the fact that with introducing new business models, you depend a lot on supply from different other value chain actors. And especially now in the COVID crisis, it happened to a lot of companies who have been working in a way supplying materials or something from China, for example, or from India, to not be able to find such products or materials, raw materials, even from Europe, which is the problem. So speaking about circularity, we should be also aware that some of the things and some of the European economies are not ready to implement it, not because there is a missing technology or knowledge about it, but there is a value chain which in Europe is somehow missing, and this is an important point to be addressed as well. I will not keep you longer. This is really one of my last slides. Here we have listed also some risks from not implementing circular economy. Of course, it's insufficient support from different policy mix or financial instruments, which is one of the, I'm sure that everyone mentions this, but there is a slow adaptation also to different requirements related to global value chains, and of course the changing requirements, especially now with the COVID crisis. I believe this is an additional risk. I'm not putting it here, but there will be a big change in our economies anyway. Speaking about circularity, you know, this will have an influence for sure. I believe that whatever, it is not always easy to present such a complex topic within 15 or 20 minutes, because there are a lot of interconnected activities that should be taken into consideration. But the only way to achieve it is to work synergetically, to exchange experience. And I would like to thank you very much for organizing this webinar. And we're looking forward to receive your feedback, your questions. Really, if you have something about the indicators of measuring circularity, please feel free to send us whatever links or some best practices from your countries. This will be highly appreciated from our team. And on the other side, we will be glad to support you in your endeavors and to build a stronger Balkan community on circularity, because we have a lot of similarities that might be an opportunity for common projects. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, Mariana, for showing us that hard work and ambition pays off, and we need to be ambitious and work harder together. As I said before, it's only the first webinar of a series of 7. So we will have more opportunities to go maybe deeper into some of the topics or some of the things that you presented. We are running out of time. Please bear with us. We have a great final presentation from Phoebe Konduri. She will talk about the sustainability transition in Europe and what is the role of circular economy. Thank you, Phoebe, for being here today, and for also, I saw that you are very active in the chat, so thank you for that. We are ready to listen to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak here. I also want to thank my colleagues, Milan, Mariana from Serbia and Bulgaria for joining, and also Milan for leading our new project on Viagon. I'm gonna try to give you an overview of the current situation of the policies that are relevant to sustainability transition, and try to fit in circular economy, which I believe is a very crucial part of the whole transition. Here is the situation today, as I understand it. We have the COVID pandemic, and we have the coming crisis. The economic crisis is here, and it's huge. It's much bigger than 2008, and we are facing very serious problems in handling this economic, financial, but also social crisis that COVID brought along. However, the biggest tsunami of our times is climate change, and if one is willing to accept that COVID is the artifact of deforestation and loss in biodiversity that brought people and wildlife unnaturally close and allowed the viruses from wildlife to make the leap to humans, that we can understand how crucial is climate change. What I'm trying to say here is that COVID is just one of the many incidences and extreme conditions that climate change can bring along. And you can see how devastating it can be. At the moment, we are facing just one of possible catastrophes, and the whole world is going down. Imagine what it will be when the real effects of climate change will not just be sporadic as they are today, but will be regular. So the pandemic has shown us that governments are able to take dramatic measures and people are able to adjust their behavior. And it has also shown us that there is a depth of global interdependence. The world is only as resilient as the last resilient country and person in it. And this is a moment of clarity where we must stop and think how we are going to reboot our development as humanity towards a people-centric, inclusive, rights-based, participatory, and green approach. And this approach, it is mapped into the only global agenda that we have at the moment, and is the SDGs, the UN agenda of and the 17, the UN agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. At the moment, in order to face the climate emergency and keep the rising temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, it is important to achieve cutting emissions by 7.6% per year. This is 68% by 2030. Nowhere in our policies do we have such a target yet. So the situation is really worrying. Very briefly, the recent history of sustainability, where circular economy belongs, is 2015. We had the Agenda 2030, September 2015, 119 countries signed in, and then a couple of months later, the Paris Agreement with the +2 degrees Celsius targets. And then in 2018, we been told by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that we need to do better than 2 degrees Celsius. We cannot afford to have an increase in temperature more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. This implies a zero net emissions globally by 2050. In 2019, UNSDSN, the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, whose hub I coordinate in Greece, and I am very involved in the global workings of this global network that includes all the research institutions and universities on almost all countries in the world. We've presented 6 transformation pathways that can operationalize the 17 Sustainable Development Goals: education, health and well-being, decarbonization, sustainable food, land, water, and oceans, sustainable cities and communities, and the digital revolution for sustainable development. These are transformations that all include circularity. Circularity and decoupling are horizontal axes in this transformation, and this transformation map the way governments are usually organized. That's why I think they are very helpful. In 2019, just before the end of the year, we have the announcement of the European Green Deal, and if you allow me the comment, I think it came as early as possible after the failure of the COP25 we had in Madrid. Policies are all relevant to circular economy, biodiversity from farm to fork, sustainable agriculture, clean energy, sustainable industry, building and renovating, sustainable mobility, eliminating pollution, climate action. Each and every policy is relevant to a circular economy, and there is €1 trillion in the budget to facilitate the implementation of this European Green Deal. Half of it is EU budget and emissions trading systems income, and the other half is hope to be mobilized from the private sector. And then, unfortunately, the COVID came. And we all noticed that flattening the infection curve steepens the macroeconomic recession curve. And because we all understood that there's gonna be needed a huge effort in order to recover, the EU has issued the Next Generation EU plan with 3 main pillars: supporting member states to the recovery, kickstarting the economy, helping private investment, and learning the lessons from the crisis. The Next Generation EU consists of 750 billion, and it should be considered within the new, to be agreed shortly, multi-annual financial framework of the European Commission. Of course, the recovery plan should also be seen within the European semester process, which I'm very happy to say that it has explicitly endorsed the 17 Sustainable Development Goals for the first time. So it seems like we are heading to the right direction in Europe at least, and it is important that we make it our business to really implement all these policies and use the relevant funds in order to recover better from the COVID. A few days ago, we've launched the new Sustainable Development Report relevant for 2020, which marks the performance of each and every state in the world with regards to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, that again, most of them have as their basis the transition to circularity. The major findings is that we all need to have as the first priority the suppression of the pandemic, obviously. That secondly, that the second-term negative that COVID has a negative impact on most SDGs, that the 6 transformations that I've mentioned before are able to help build back better, greener, fairer, and more resilient. For conclusion, the Asian Pacific countries were more efficient in dealing with COVID. Fifth, that the rich countries generate negative spillovers and undermine other countries' ability to achieve the SDGs. This is very serious for Europe, and we should focus on not doing that and find ways to escape that trap. And 6, of course, there is an urgent need for more partnership globally. On track with achieving the SDGs is just a minority of European countries. This is how it looks in Greece. We have minor improvements and may be doing well with regards to poverty and clean water and affordable renewable energy and growth that respects decent work, but overall we are not having a very good picture with regards to the achievement of the goals. How are we going to recover better? Obviously, we need to take economic measures that are very important for the financing of the whole recession, keep the workforce in employed, channel financial support to public and private institutions that support vulnerable people, safeguard SMEs that are the backbone of our European economy, support the financial system as non-performing loans mount, and of course do what the European Commission already did, but also the IMF already did, the Federal Reserve of the US already did, produce and make available financial packages comparable to the crisis-related loss of GDP. And this will be financed by national debt. And again, we will be facing a national debt crisis. But the most important point is not just to face the crisis like we did in 2008, but to face it in a way that allow us to recover in a sustainable way. So what we need now is a fundamental transformation of the economic, social, and financial systems that will trigger exponential change in strengthening social, economic, health, and environmental resilience. So we need to think big, and we need systems innovations like we do in the KIC. At this point, I would like to introduce a new project that I am co-leading with Professor Jeff Sachs from Columbia University, from the Sustainable Development Solutions Network of the United States and Nations, where we try to identify pathways of technological and policy innovations for the joint achievement of the European Green Deal and the SDGs, and use the respective portfolios of financial instruments that the European Green Deal, the EU Recovery Plan, the European semester process, and the multi-annual financial framework have. And these pathways definitely include circular economy. This project is also supported by the new Lancet Commission on COVID-19, which I'm proud to be a member, and it's under the auspices of UN and Earth Institute of Columbia University, which engages global leaders to promote best practices in the control of the pandemic, social protection, and the recovery of the global economy. And it is really an interdisciplinary project with experts from public health, virology, economics, finance, business, civil society, and it draws from all regions of the world. With regards to the European Green Deal and our real ambition to really focus on the recovering back better, that is to focus on a sustainable recovery, I have to say I'm disappointed about the under consultation climate law, because it does not include any ambitious goal with regards to the greenhouse gas emission. It does not allow the European Commission to impose sanctions on member states, and it has no reference to financial mechanisms that will require the achievement of neutrality. However, I'm happy with the Climate Pact, which is the other big axis of the European Green Deal, is the climate law and the Climate Pact. I wrote the opinion, the legal opinion for the proposed Climate Pact at the European Commission, and I've introduced and suggested systems innovation approach for co-designing with the stakeholders the future vision, but also the pathways that will allow the movement from today to the future vision. And I'm happy to tell you that this has been accepted quite warmly, and we now need to identify the individual tools that will allow this transition. With regards to the energy on the demand side, we know that it will grow by 62% until 2050. And with regards to the supply side of energy, we know that we can decarbonize. Why? Because renewables are consistently cheaper than fossil fuels. Energy storage installations are increasing exponentially. Strong energy efficiency improvements are possible, large-scale carbon capture is possible, and of course the transition to circular economy is crucial. And here are the percentage of the contribution of these different angles to the decarbonization process. With regards to the circular economy, of course, we all know that there is a European strategy and there is a national strategy that was introduced in Greece in 2018. Our national strategy is based on 5 concepts: product design, production process, consumption, from waste to resources, and innovation, investment, and other cross-cutting issues. Circular economy, as you all know, and I don't need to explain that, it is instrumental in the sustainability transition because it's based on principles of designing out waste, pollution, keeping products and materials in use, and regenerating natural systems. By 2050, circular economy is supposed to cut down 56% of EU emissions from heavy industry and 45% globally from steel, cement, plastic, and aluminum products. And you all know that there are economic benefits, there are opportunities for companies, opportunities for individuals, and environmental and systems-wide benefits from the transition to circular economy. We estimate savings of 600 billion euro for EU business, 8% of their annual turnover, creation of more than 500,000 jobs in innovative design and business models, research, recycling, remanufacturing, and product development. Circular economy is also very important for Europe because it is relevant for SMEs. You can have circular economy, you can implement the processes in a very small SME of 2 people towards the array of a huge multinational company. In addition, it promises huge reductions in carbon emissions and huge reductions in environmental footprint. For financing this circular economy, we need public-private partnerships. This is the best model. Why? Why? Because the benefits for circular economy will, of course, be in profits in terms of economizing raw material and other processes for the companies, for the producing companies, will of course be in benefits in terms of the environmental footprint, including CO2 emissions, will of course be in terms of health of the consumers, and other additional benefits that I don't have time to mention. The tricky point here for the economic case of the circular economy is that we need to translate these benefits into economic benefits. So after you have mapped the gains in terms of a life cycle analysis of moving from the status quo to a circular economy process, for example, in production, you then need to identify the total economic value of this change. Obviously, financial benefits are easy to translate into monetary benefits because they are already monetary benefits. However, health and environmental benefits are not easy. And we economists have been working the last 50 years on methodologies that allow you to translate environmental, health, and other public good benefits into monetary values. And once you have done, using some quite involved econometric propositions, but it is very possible, you can only then include these benefits into cost-benefit analysis, into business model, and into policy making. Because when you go to the politician, you need to explain to him why he needs to streamline financial resources from the public to the transition to circular economy. And he needs to do that because the benefits from circular economy are not just private benefits. We are talking about benefits to public health, to the environment that is a public good. Because of this, you need public-private partnerships. But in order to convince the policymakers, and in order to convince the businessmen, you need to be able to monetize the benefits, and this is the approach of monetizing the benefits. I want to very quickly refer to a project that we had in Greece and also in Bulgaria in clean tech. We've measured the potential merging of mapping circular economy transition into smart specialization strategy. As you all know, smart specialization strategy is an innovative approach that aims to boost growth and jobs in Europe by enabling each region to identify and develop its own competitive advantage. And we have identified in the 13 different regional programs of smart specialization and the 4 Greek sectoral programs, the mentioning and the opportunities that are already endorsed in with regards to circular economy. And we have found 113 interventions that are related to circular economy. So there is huge potential. It's being recognized in the regional plan. What remains to be seen is the implementation effectiveness. Of course, the circular economy is also related to the energy sector, and the energy sector has, of course, a huge potential in becoming a driver for a sustainable recovery. And I refer to the International Energy Agency latest report indicating that 1 trillion a year for 3 years investment in renewables and in wind, solar, offshore wind, but also lithium batteries and hydrogen electrolyzers are important for allowing us to recover globally from the COVID. And all these aspects is not just renewables, are aspects, the production of renewables has circular economy as a fundamental access. Circular economy is also very important in the shipping sector, and I am leading a global initiative on sustainable shipping and ports, where we try to bring together technology providers, ship owners, ship builders, ports, policymakers, and politicians in order to identify pathways that will allow global shipping to reach a 2050 climate neutral state. And this is another angle where circularity is very important. A third angle that is very important, and it has been the major emphasis of one of our many Horizon 2020 projects, is the adaptation and mitigation of climate change at the municipality level, at the cities level. And the previous speakers have indicated that there are many opportunities for circularity in this regional, municipal level of the sustainability transition. And this project has produced a climate window with more than 200 innovations relevant to that. Very briefly, demand management is also important. Taxes and emissions trading systems are important in changing behavior, but it is crucial to understand that it is time now for systemic economic change, and the UN Agenda 2030 and the European Commission Green Deal can be our blueprints. We have our blueprints, we have the way forward, we should invest in them. With regards to highlights in terms of where we should be investing across Europe, my suggestion is embrace EU taxonomy that identifies what it is a sustainable investment and what it is not. The European Investment Bank already did, many central banks have already did, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development has done it. And then control the pandemic, invest in biomedical research, invest in border security, invest in renewable energy and circular economy, invest in food security and smart agriculture, promote European supply chains, secure ICT networks, and educate, invest in sustainability education, training, capacity building, and while you do so, leave no one behind. In the last minute of my presentation, I just present the cluster on sustainability transition that I lead in Greece. It is a cluster of the research center that I run at the university, where we have many research projects, mostly Horizon 2020 projects, but also projects in all 5 continents. The second section of this cluster is the demonstration projects, mainly focusing on climate kick projects and also climate kick programs like the accelerator, the pioneers into practice and climathons. And we also run education and training activities. Look at the SDG Academy, where leading professors around the world make available open access MOOCs that on each and every SDG and opportunities for their implementation. It is really cutting edge, very impressive, and it has more than 1 million students at the moment. We also run MSc courses in economics and energy market at the Athens University of Economics and Business, and we also run training courses for professionals for the transition to sustainability, and also have a virtual reality lab trying to educate investors and entrepreneurs in understanding how to become sustainable in the long run. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I didn't use too much time.
Thank you, Phoebe, for your presentation. Everything that you say is so interesting that I did not have the heart to stop or to interrupt. I have to say an apologies for everybody that joined, that we could not keep it in the time estimated in the beginning. But I really feel that all the speakers had so valuable input that we had to leave the presentations going even for a little longer. I saw that in the chat there's still some questions going around, and I promise that in the next webinars we will take care of all the open issues that are still now running. We are half an hour over the estimated time, and I need to close it up now. So thank you again for your attention. Thank you for participating in our webinar. Keep your eyes close on us, because we will follow with other very interesting themes and topics on our webinars. We are trying to make sure that all the questions will be answered and addressed, and the topics that you proposed will be further explored in the next webinars. This one was the first one. We wanted to give an opportunity to all the countries and to all the partners to give a short introduction on what we are working on, or what we are aiming for, what are the opportunities, risks, obstacles. But the further we will go into the next rounds, we will have a much more focused, and we will dedicate much more time to collaboration and to exchange words and to hear from each other much more. So thank you so much. It was lovely to hear all of you. Great insights, great stories, great successes. And also we have now even higher ambitions, seeing that we also had such, I don't know, resistant and full of ideas audience. So this is also a good sign for us that we have to continue and to dedicate more time into receiving feedback, and to I don't know, custom our further activities also to address what you mentioned today in the chat. So thank you so much. Have a lovely day, and check our further webinars. We will be disseminating the info on all the channels possible to make sure that you will hear about our next webinar. So take care. Thank you so much for this day.
Thank you, Christina. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.